What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple H podcast Happy Hour Hoops, presented by yours truly, WinStreakz. WinStreakz is a free-to-play app, 100% free-to-play, might I add. You make up to 5 picks per day on the NBA, NFL, NHL. Baseball is right around the corner. College basketball. We are so close to March. Any of those sports, you make 5 picks a day, accumulate those points from the winners, and then win cash prizes. 100 players win cash prizes every week, up to $2,000. The contest runs every week from Monday to Sunday. Again, never any deposits, guys. Always free to play with WinStreakz. Use our referral code HHH when you sign up. Me and Jake mentioned last week that we're doing one more game time giveaway with WinStreakz. That will be next week. We're going to do it this week, but it's going to be next week. We'll have another big wheel with everyone's names on it who use, shout out Captain, who use our referral code at WinStreakz, HHH, when you're signing up. Make sure you do that. You'll be entered to win a game time gift card. Everyone go download the WinStreakz app. It's the best time for sports right now. I mean, the WinStreakz app with March Madness is going to be just a gem to sit back during the day. Tons of games on all at once. You can pick your winners. Jake's holding it up as always, showing you guys a glimpse of what this beautiful app looks like. And we're not sure why you don't have it downloaded yet. So go ahead and do that. Use our code HHH. WinStreakz, guys. Best sports app.
I'm giving one right away. Right away.
Oh,
Penn
right
State,
away?
78 points at home against Illinois tonight. It's tough to go into Bryce Jordan Center and win games. They pulled off some upsets there. I'm liking it. 78, give me that.
Big Ten home team, can't go wrong.
No, you really can't. That's been a safe bet. That's been a safe pick all year long. It really has.
So go download the app, use our code HHH, and lock in that free pick that Jake just gave you. Start accumulating those points and get closer to those cash prizes and get closer to the Game Time gift card that you could win next week on our show. Guys, we are past the All-Star break.
We are
officially into full steam ahead for the NBA. I mentioned it too, March Madness. I mean, we're a few days away from March, about a couple weeks away from March Madness here. It's awesome. It's a great time. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. I need some NBA basketball back. It feels like it's been forever. Bro. Finally, tomorrow we'll have games again. I've been watching a lot of college basketball. We're really starting to heat up in terms of these games really mattering, conference play, and conference tournament starting in about 2 weeks. Yeah. The NBA's back tomorrow, and the slate is crazy loaded. We're doing good. We're doing good. The All-Star weekend, we'll get to my thoughts later about that. Yeah. But other than that, man, I'm just ready to watch some regular season basketball. It feels like it's been 3 weeks without an NBA game. I just keep checking my calendar. I'm like, when Suns Mavs. Like,
it's crazy how spoiled we are with the NBA, bro. Because there's a game every night. There's multiple games. You know, on like the big national TV nights. There's a couple, 2, 3 great games. And then after the All-Star break, it's like, oh, yeah, I could use a day off without basketball. And then you're like,
just one day, though. Yeah. Just one day.
And then you're like, oh, fuck, there's 3 days, bro. Like, give me some hoops.
Yeah, man. It's been a grind this week. It has been a grind.
Yeah, I will say this.
How much of it's just it's like my comfort show. I was talking about it with my girlfriend that says, like, my comfort show has been gone all week. Like, I don't have anything to just throw on.
Right?
I don't have Suns Mavs or
it doesn't matter if it's Hornets Spurs, bro. Give me that. Like,
bro, the amount of times I've fallen asleep to like a Trailblazers League Pass game that I don't care about. Like, I just need that on in the background. I don't have that right now. So I watched a little San Francisco St. Mary's last night before I fell asleep.
Ooh, nice.
Like, I'll still have basketball on in the background. Yeah. It's always going to be on one of the TVs.
Yeah, let's not get it twisted. But we're still watching.
Mavs have the current longest win streak in the NBA right now. I kind of want to see this team still play. They're undefeated since the deadline. I kind of want to watch them play. I'm a little nervous that, like, the chemistry, the hot streak, that weak All-Star break can be a little weird to some teams coming back from it. So I just want to watch some games.
We appreciate you, Isaiah.
Let's go, Munoz.
Let's go, man.
you're in for a treat. We got a lot to get into, even though we don't have any actual basketball. We do. Well, no, we don't have actual basketball to talk about. I was gonna say we do.
We're not calling the All-Star game actual basketball. I won't give it that.
Doing that.
I won't give
it that. Disrespecting the game like that.
We wouldn't dare, bro. Somehow our comments would be flooded if we said anything nice about the All-Star game with just hate and telling us how stupid we are. But we're gonna do a full All-Star game debrief, recap, cleanup, whatever you want to call it. Quick, not much news and notes because, like we said, there hasn't been basketball and we haven't known what to do with ourselves. But the Nets figured, hey, we have 3-4 days off. Let's fire our head coach. So the Jock Vaughn era in Brooklyn is over. Kevin Ollie is their interim head coach for now. It was announced a few hours after they had the firing of Jock Vaughn. Not all that surprising. Took an absolute beatdown from the Celtics, a 50-point loss right before the All-Star break. I'm sure that didn't help Jock Vaughn's case to stay head coach. I'm sure they were like, okay, we've seen enough. I wonder if that was like, all right, we'll give him one last shot with this back-to-back against Boston before the All-Star break. They lose, then they lose by 50. I don't know. I thought, maybe it was a little premature, but I think there's weird things going on in Brooklyn. They're very invested in Mikal Bridges. He, as a number one option, hasn't, his numbers are great. It hasn't really panned out and looked good for them. Ben Simmons, kind of the same thing as it's always been for him. He's in and out of the lineup. Some nice things from Claxton and Cam Thomas here and there, but I don't know. It was kind of just like, oh, Jock Vaughn got fired. Makes sense. They haven't really done anything. They're a very run-of-the-mill average team in the NBA right now.
Yeah, I think, a couple of reasons for this is first off, their defense and their fourth quarter play has been atrocious. And that's, something that comes down to coaching. It feels like the Nets are in most games at the start and then they just get blown out of the water after halftime, especially in the fourth quarter. And it's happened numerous times this year. And I think we talked about the Nets very positively last year where they were kind of trending upwards, right? In the right direction where like they got these young players with potential, guys are coming back, Ben Simmons, I know Ben Simmons is a head case to begin with, but when he's been on the court for the Nets, he's been effective this year. And their defense has been night and day in the games he's played versus the games he hasn't played. And we really thought Bridges was going to kind of take the leap. He did take a big leap last year when he got traded, but it's kind of hasn't really stepped up as a true number one option for this team. But it just feels like they're going in the wrong direction, right? And I think it's kind of the Brooklyn Nets trying to get out ahead of it early and maybe, a coaching switch might help because like I said, this is a team that's been in games, a lot of games this year. They just get, besides obviously the Celtics beat down before the All-Star break. They're in most games for 3 quarters and it's just the defense in the fourth quarter. It just lets them down all the time. This could be a step in the right direction and honestly bring someone in who can teach a couple of these guys to play defense because Cam Thomas should be starting and almost any NBA starting lineup, you should have Cam Thomas in. This guy's a walking buck. He can score 30 points pretty much every night, but he's a defensive liability at times for this team. And it just feels like they don't really have an identity right now, right? There's some games it's like Bridges is taking the majority of the shots. Other games, Mikal Bridges has like 6 shots through 3 quarters. It's like, what are you doing, bro? Cam Thomas has 20 shots. Other games he's got 2. There's no really identity. I love Nick Claxton. I think he's got a ton of potential, and I think they have a lot of good young pieces. Yeah. So why not make the switch? Yeah, I also think too, right? They're a game out, or they're a spot out of the play-in in the East. But I was
gonna say it's not too late. They can still make the play-in.
Yeah, it's definitely not out of the question. It's also not out of the question that they'll miss the playoffs, but the problem is you're not going to get a great chance at a lottery when you miss the playoffs because there's some bad teams, especially in the Eastern Conference. So they're kind of in that no man's land that we talked about with the Toronto Raptors, and we saw the Raptors make some big changes the past couple months. And, the Brooklyn Nets didn't really do that in terms of guys they moved around. But I think a coaching change is probably a step in the right direction and maybe can turn them back to where they were last year, where in the second half, no one expected them to kind of play the way they did, right? And make the postseason. So maybe we'll see that. And maybe we'll see them sneak in the play-in and give a team a game. Because I think this team's got talent. I think they got players. But they just fall apart in almost every game I watch, man.
It's bad, man. Any thoughts on the Nets, Jake?
Well, the way he got I mean, he just got the job because Steve Nash had left, right? And he was the interim, and then they made him the permanent and everything. And I feel like it was like, we need some stability for a while here. This organization has been in flux for years. Like, we need to just get some stuff underway. And he did that. Like, he brought them to a stable ground. They're not a great team, as you're talking about, but they're in a position to make a run for the play-in. And maybe this is kind of a, like, listen, the guys are just tuning this guy out now. We need to get another voice in at least to the end of the year and try to salvage this. Show our star, at least Mikhail, that we're trying to salvage it. And, you know, there were the reports that came out after the firing that they're planning to try to spend this summer and build around Mikhail Bridges, because what else are you going to – there's no other move to do. Like, that's the move for them. So it makes a lot of sense, just as a – they don't really have any other options to do it. And he's not really, it wasn't their first choice. Like, he was the backup choice to their first choice already as it was. He brought some good stability. They've, you know, been in a decent position. They didn't fall off the face of the earth the last couple of years, and you have to give him credit for that. But I mean, Jacques Vaughn now in 2 head coaching stops has been pretty unspectacular. Not great results in Orlando, not great results in Brooklyn. And I know that people like tried to hype him up when he got this Brooklyn job too. Like, oh man, he's a good coaching name. He's going to have a good opportunity here and everything. I don't think we're going to hear that much anymore about Jacques. So that's unfortunate, but he's going to be an assistant somewhere. He's well regarded in the league. He'll find his footing somewhere. But yeah, the Nets needed to make some kind of change to show this roster, like, hey, we're like, what else can the Nets do? Like, they need to try to win. So it makes sense in that regard.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they turn down, like, didn't they say like 5 first-round picks? Like, there's not enough for Mikal Bridges or something outrageous.
I was going to bring that up when you brought up sometimes he has 6 shots a game. It's you know, we hear all the things that the Brooklyn Nets organization is saying, how they want to build around Mikal and Mikal's the future. It's like, well, some of your actions aren't really consistent with that. Because if you turn down 5 first-round picks for a guy, there should not be any game where
he should be the guy.
Right.
It should not be on a game-to-game. Yes.
Right. Players or upper management, coaching, everyone should make that apparent. Mikal himself should make that apparent. It doesn't feel like the whole organization is on the same page about Mikal being the guy, even though they keep telling us that. It really hasn't been reflected so far. That's what I was going to say. So,
and that's how I feel about Cam Thomas too, right? We talk about this young guy who could just score 30 points. Like, he's had stretches. We remember his 3 40-point games in a row last year. He had a stretch of like 5 or 6 25 plus coming off the bench this year. Yeah. And it's like, you have that, like, all right, like, I get it. Like, sometimes, like, he's just not a good matchup defensively. You can't have him on the court. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm tired of that excuse with some of these guys. You got a guy who can score 25, 30 a night. You find a way to get him in the lineup and get him consistent minutes and consistent shot attempts every single night. There should be no excuse there. There should be no excuse. You don't have the luxury of these other offensive talents. Cam Johnson's been solid, right? Nick Claxton's more defense, and he'll score. You know, he'll get a double-double. And Mikal Bridges, like I said, they want him to be the guy. Okay, be the guy. But you have another guy here, Cam Thomas, who's one of the younger players in the NBA, one of the guys who can score from anywhere on the court at will. And you're just so inconsistent with how you use both these guys. I just don't get it. You use a 1A, 1B situation, and some games it looks like that way, but other games they just kind of disappear. I just don't understand it.
I did.
JBC nominated us. I know who did the nomination. Shout out
JBC. This feels like we might have to get our guy Spenny on in the next coming weeks to hear his thoughts.
Spenny's been breaking down on the Twitter. It's just been angry tweets.
You know, he's in the media game, but he's also a diehard Nets fan. So it'd be nice to hear his opinion on this. It's very all over the place for me right now. I think, you know, I'm fine with them firing the head coach and maybe trying to light a fire with the interim head coach and just trying to change some of the mojo up in that locker room after the All-Star break. I think the moves make sense. I think up until this point, they haven't really. So, you know, let's see if they can fix it for this like last quarter of the season for the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe they make the play-in, and then you know, they're gonna have some work to do this summer, obviously. So we'll see what happens there with Brooklyn. The only other really news this week is Mike Conley, just out of the clouds, signed a 2-year, $22 million extension with the Timberwolves. Bro. He's 36 years old right now.
I'm
just
shocked.
paid they just paid Conley through him being 38, decent chunk of change. I'm sure there's a team option in there somewhere. That would be my guess. But yeah, I mean, it seems like I think Anthony Edwards really likes Mike Conley. I think Cat and Gobert like him. I think he's probably just I'm sure everyone likes Mike Conley. Everywhere he's been, everyone has nothing but good things to say about the guy. It kind of just seems like you're re-upping one of your leaders and one of your veterans. Yeah. This move made a lot more sense than the Jacque Vaughn move to me.
Yeah, it's a veteran leader. I think Mike Conley has been for his entire career one of the more underrated players in basketball, or underappreciated. And he's going to be one of these guys, and I'm going to cringe saying this, that 10 years from now, kids aren't even going to recognize the name. Oh, who's Mike Conley? And I'll be like, you don't remember Mike Conley? Like, it's just going to be one of those where it's like, and it happens all the time, right? He's not ever putting up these crazy numbers, but he's just consistent on a year-to-year basis. He knows his role in Minnesota, and I think that's what they want him for. In Minnesota, I know we've given them a lot of shit the past couple of years, but the fact of the matter is they're in the top of the Western Conference. They've been there all year long, and in their mind, they probably are thinking maybe this is a championship window. And how do you have a championship team, right? You have that young superstar with Anthony Edwards. You got the defense with Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns. If he plays anything like he did at the All-Star game, I mean, you got another superstar on your hands. Yeah. But Towns has his moments too, where he can take over games. I mean, he scored 62 in a game this year. And then you got Mike Conley, a nice veteran leader. It just. In my mind, I'm like, it made sense to me. I don't think they overpaid. I think he's someone who's just always underappreciated, underrated. Yeah, he's a little older, but I don't hate the deal. I think it's a solid guy to keep around, especially if the players like
44% from three this year.
Yeah, not bad at all.
That's impressive. If you guys had to guess,
and he doesn't take a ton. He doesn't need to take a ton of shots, right? He just picks his spots.
If you guys had to guess, give me a number on his total career earnings. I have it pulled up right now. But hold on, let me preface that with after this deal is done, after the extension is done, what will his total career earnings be?
I don't think he ever
got a guess. I'll give you a higher.
I don't think he ever got a. I don't ever think he got a max. How many years does he play?
He got one big bag. He got one big bag. He's at 17 years right now. He'll be at 19.
17 years.
I'm gonna say 227 million.
I'm going higher. I'll go 260. Right. 260 million.
It's higher than both of that.
Okay. All right.
295 million by the end.
Okay. All right, Conley. Okay, Conley.
Yeah. He got a bag. He did get a bag. He got a nice bag.
You saying people might not know him in 10 years? It's so crazy because like totals of his stats, like borderline, like could be a basketball Hall of Fame guy. Like I don't think he will be. Yeah. But it's I don't know. It's like guys like you talk about in football. It's tough now with like a Stafford used to be one of these guys, but he has a Super Bowl now, so it's a little different.
Well, that's the thing. Minnesota gets the NBA championship. Yeah. Maybe the conversation changes. But no, you're right. He's just had the longevity of just consistency and being just good. Being productive every single season. Yeah.
Yeah. And with those, some of those teams in Memphis
so he got
leading is shout out Mike Conley.
Well, that's what Memphis. He got a 5-year, 152 million max from Memphis.
Makes sense.
And then when he got traded to Utah, he signed a 3-year, 68 million with them, and that's what he was cruising on right now. And then he just this year he's getting paid $24 million a year, which he should not be getting that money. But
yeah,
he's a finesse guy at this point.
Yeah,
like that 295 million for. He's obviously been a great player, but that's a lot of money for a guy who, as you said, Steve, a lot of people isn't gonna be in their first thought of as like best point guards of this generation,
right?
Which is a disgrace because he not only has been one of the best and most consistent point guards in the NBA, but also on one of the best college basketball teams. I guess in the last 20 years now. That's how old I am because it feels like that's yesterday.
I know it really does. And look at the teams he's been with, right? Memphis, they weren't great. Utah, and then Minnesota finally decent now, but it's like, he's never really with a true contender or a team that everyone was watching. Nobody was tuning into a Utah Jazz game in 2019. No one's watching the Memphis Grizzlies in the early 2000s.
Probably just like the early 2010s when like Zach Randolph, Marc Gasol, Tony Allen, Rudy Gay, like that group for like 2 years, but that was really it. And like,
that's about it.
And they weren't even flashy at that time. And like, that's when like the Thunder were coming up in the West with KD and Westbrook. So like, there was all these, and like Kawhi with the Spurs. So like that,
all these more interesting teams, right?
Right. Like they were grit and grind. And it's like, yeah, they were true to that, but like, that's not flashy. That doesn't really get your name known. And Mike Conley, as good as he is and was, like, he was just a run-of-the-mill point guard who is super fundamental, great at everything, but like, and he was not like a loudmouth. He doesn't, he's never really had like a diva moment. So, sometimes I guess that can hurt your reputation. But
absolutely.
Happy for Mike Conley, well deserved, I think. And I think it's just a move the T-Wolves made where they're like, this guy's well liked. We want to keep him around. He probably keeps Ant in check a little bit as far as just being a good vet to him. So I'm here for it. We can start to do All-Star. You guys want to just go in order with the All-Star game or All-Star weekend?
Works for me.
Friday night, I did not hate the Rising Stars tournament style play to 40 points and then there's 4 separate teams. I didn't mind that. I'm curious to like that's probably the least of my problems of the weekend is the Rising Stars.
Yeah, I think that could be something maybe the actual All-Star game could take notes of, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into the actual All-Star game when it happens. But with the Rising Stars, the biggest thing with the Rising Stars, you don't want it to be, a game. You want it to show off these young players that maybe not, the average fan will recognize right off the bat, right? Everyone wanted to see Wemby play. But there's a lot of good young players that have been in the league the past couple of years. So I think that's the kind of the best way to display them, right? Let them all kind of do a little something there. Show off what they got. And I think it did a good job of kind of showing off pretty much all of the young players. Obviously some, played a little bit more than others in terms of volume and everything, but that's what you really want in a Rising Stars, right? You want the more public fans to become aware of all the players in the league, all these young guys that have a chance to become household names in a couple of years.
Yeah, it was a good. The Rising Stars was a good time. I had fun with the celebrity game too. Like the celebrity game,
that's always fun.
Is good. It's just and the nice part about celebrity game is they're giving effort. Like you see people going ham in some of these efforts. What are you gonna say?
My only complaint about celebrity game, and maybe I'm in the minority here. I don't think other sport athletes should be able to play in the celebrity game. I don't need Micah Parsons and Puka Nacua, who are so much more athletic than the other guys on the floor. Like showing off. Like, I get it. Like, but you're a professional athlete, bro. You should be pretty good at this. Like, if you played basketball growing up and you're a professional athlete, it's like, we get it. So I understand it. I think it is kind of cool too, but it's like, dude, if you're going to do a celebrity All-Star game, and maybe I'm in the minority, like I said, just have celebrities, ones that aren't professional athletes, that aren't in the weight room every day, that aren't in great shape, that aren't training, right? Because then you get these guys, and it's like, all right. But I will say, Puka Nacua, I did not know he could dunk like that.
Bro.
I did not know he could dunk like that. Like the reference on today for Puka. I did not know he could dunk like that. I did enjoy that.
He looked comfortable out there, bro. I was like, damn, this guy was breaking rookie records, and now he's balling at the All-Star celebrity game.
Micah Parsons is going way too hard, bro.
Way too hard. So maybe do like in other athletes, like half the game and the other half is like celebrities, like match them up. I think maybe that'd be cool, but yeah, dude, like I said, you saw it. You were like, Micah Parsons, what are you doing? Look, know who you're playing against, bro.
I was going crazy.
He missed out on Cowboys playoff games. He had to play a little. He had to play a little
awesome
intense.
Team.
Exactly.
That's the thing. If you saw the beginning, I had it on right from the beginning, and he was talking. They had an interview when Cassie Hubbard's walking around showing off the LED court and everything. And they have an interview with him and Stroud, and he's just like staring CJ in the eyes. Like, I'm gonna crush him or something. I'm like, bro, you are like,
bro, you are.
Hey, bro, like, where's that?
This serious?
What are you talking about? I'm like, damn, the Houston GM's about to call in and be like, CJ, get off that court, bro.
Yeah.
Wow.
Adam Silver might give him a phone call, be like, "You want to play in the All-Star game next year?"
Yeah,
I kind of need some of that.
Yeah, we need to motivate these guys.
Good point.
Yeah, so Friday, nothing really to complain about Friday. I'd say that's run of the mill. They do those things Friday for a reason. It's not what draws everyone in, but if you are tuned in, it's entertaining enough. Saturday, this is not even necessarily for me, but this is just where the problem started with all the complaining heard all around the world. I feel like whether you're in the basketball space or not, you heard how shit everyone thought the All-Star weekend was. Yeah. I am in the minority. I shouldn't say I'm in the minority. I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't think it was as bad as everyone is talking about. We're going to continue to go through in chronological order here, but I do want to preface it with that. I think the outrage and the hate was way more than it needed to be, or I think was fair. I think people at some point were just complaining to complain, because I'll start by saying I thought the 3-point contest was fucking awesome, and I thought
3-point contest is always great. It's always great.
Sabrina and Steph was fucking awesome too, and the skills competition. I think this year they might have done a little too much with the teams. It was too messy to me.
But they also half of them don't care in the skills competition.
They're
how do you not know what way to go?
Yeah.
How do you not know what way to go around the obstacles? You just watch the two guys in front of you go. Scotty Barnes dribbled off his foot. Anthony Edwards is shooting left-handed.
Bro.
I mean,
I got a bone to pick with Scotty Barnes, bro. That is who y'all picked to be in the All-Star game over Porzingis and Derek White. And this dude dribbled off his foot and went the wrong way in the in the skills competition. Like, come on, man.
Anthony Edwards wanted no part of All-Star.
No, they wanted no
part. Bro wanted no
Scotty threw it backwards, too, for the half-court shot, right? He was one who did backwards.
No, I think that was just the long three. I don't even think it was half-court. It was just a long three. He chucked it backwards. It's like, oh, my God, man. I don't know. Skills, it wasn't, skills was meh for me. It was fine. There's parts of it that I enjoyed. I thought like I said, I think it was just too clustered. I think they did too much with too many guys on the floor at the same time. I think they should go back to how it was a few years ago, where there's like 4 guys compete, 4 to like 6 guys compete in it. You do the up and down on the court, but like obviously that's way too easy for guys now. Yeah. I want to see, like, instead of like stopping and having to pass through like a huge circle, I want to see those like off-season drills where you're dribbling with your left on a half yoga ball and they're throwing you a tennis ball and you have to complete like 5 of those before you move on. Like, show us what you do in the offseason to perfect that handle. I don't want to see some guy throw a bounce pass through a huge circle that I could throw a bounce pass through.
Well, that's the thing too.
It's like anyone can do that.
What are we doing? The 4-point, but the pass was from me to like my wall here, about 5 feet away. Chest pass. What are we doing?
The guys were just like hucking the ball. They didn't even care. They're like, I could throw this. They're like, I could throw this in with my eyes closed. I'm like, I could throw it in from here on my couch. Like, what are we doing?
I thought, and I hate the Pro Bowl more than anything, but I thought this year, like the mini games they did kind of with the targets that the CJ Stroud, I think it was Baker, had to hit, some of the catches the receivers had to make. I thought that was cool. And I think in the NBA, you can implement stuff like that makes it difficult for these guys. You see Steph and Luka all the time throwing up these random 3-quarter shots before they walk in the locker room. Why not have 4 or 5 guys got to do kind of almost like the gauntlet, right? You got to make a layup, then you got to make a little mid-range, then you got to make a corner 3, wing 3, top of the key, and then it goes to half court and then all the way to like a 3-quarter shot. That would be fun. That would be fun to watch. Instead, you got 3 guys throwing half-court shots for a tiebreaker where half of them don't even care. They're like, the passing Dunny was outrageous. Those targets, you got to make them. It's Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah.
This guy can close his eyes and throw it halfway across the court into a tiny target. Like, what are we doing? So make it a little tough, right? And then have the best playmakers do that, kind of split it up. So I agree. I think that was stupid. 3-point contest, I was fantastic. And I mean, I'm going to say it first. If you're still upset on Twitter, angry and complaining about Sabrina Ionescu using women's ball, shut up. 26 points. She went from the men's line first off. She went from the men's line, which is NBA range, 26. You know what 26 would have got her? In the finals of the actual 3-point competition. Yeah. I'm sorry she lost to Steph Curry, who's the greatest shooter of all time. Not this year, not the generation of all time. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic for growing the game. And that's exactly kind of how I wanted it. I wanted both to put up really impressive performances, right? I didn't want one to blow out the other, regardless who would have won. I didn't want either to struggle. I wanted them to both take it seriously, which Steph and Sabrina did. And they both shot incredible. Like I said, Sabrina Ionescu had 26 points. That would have tied everyone who was in the 3-point competition to begin with. So I thought it was incredible. And I hope they do more of that going forward, because I think that's how you grow the women's game as well, right? You get people to recognize. Because I will admit to some of the, Twitter, TikTok comment haters, I did see a few people be like, wow, this Sabrina girl can ball. Didn't really know much about her. She can ball. Now you still have the people who are all upset, and then the people victory lapping Steph Curry. It's like, dude, yeah, we get it. Like, Steph's a great shooter. But I will give people some credit that, maybe didn't really know what Sabrina could do, kind of realized it. And I was really, really happy for her. And I was really happy just for the women's game in general. To go up against Steph Curry, first off, is daunting. To do it, especially in front of an arena and then in front of the world where, for the past 2-3 weeks since it's been announced, so many people are rooting for you to fail just because of their ignorance. And then to do what you did, to go first and put up 26 points, I thought was incredible. And I give her all the credit in the world. I think it was great to grow the game. And like I said, no shame in losing to Steph Curry. I thought they both put up super impressive rounds. And I enjoyed that probably most of the whole weekend. That was what I was looking forward to, and I thought it delivered.
Yeah, and it's so crazy too, because obviously no shame in losing to Steph, like you said.
No, not at all.
She put up amazing numbers, but wasn't it incredible to watch Steph go and you're like, oh, this is why he doesn't do the 3-point contest anymore.
It's too easy.
He would have whomped everyone, dude. Imagine if he had to do multiple rounds, dude. I can't even imagine what that would have looked like.
How many 3-point contests do you think Steph Curry would win if he did it every year?
He'd probably have 8 by now if he was
at least, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
does he only have 1?
Well, and because he knew, like him going in and knowing what he needed, of course he was going to turn it on that. He had the money ball at the end. That's the thing, is Steph is just that kind of athlete where if it comes down to it, he's going to turn it on and figure it out. So, yeah.
And to talk about the actual contest, Dame did that too, right? Dame needed 26, and he hit it after missing 3 in a row, hit it on the final money ball. Some of these guys, just have that DNA of a clutch shooter. When I know I have to make a basket, I will. And you're right. And just kind of turned it on. But that's the one thing I will say. I thought both 3-point contests were fantastic. I'd love for them to expand the other one as well. I really do. I would love to see Steph, and I know Sabrina and Steph hinted towards maybe a 2v2 next year, which a lot of people are alluding that's Steph and Clay versus Sabrina and Caitlin, which who knows? Who knows? I think it'd be incredible. I mean, Caitlin to break the women's all-time scoring record, not to get off topic. She hit it from pretty much half court.
Yeah.
I mean, and she went 3 for 3 to start the game and hit from pretty much half court. So I don't think she's worried about what line she's shooting from.
For her to say after the game too that she was you knew it had to be a low.
You knew it was going to be from there. She that was in her mind. That's where it was coming from the whole time. I would love to see that, but either way, I just think this is great to grow the game, because like I said, Sabrina Ionescu is a star, and I know they've done a great job of marketing women's college basketball, but this is really helps for the WNBA, because I say it all the time. If you're not ignorant, if you're not just blind, just opening your mind a little bit, if you enjoy watching competitive basketball, you enjoy watching competitive basketball. It doesn't matter if it's the NBA, doesn't matter if it's college, doesn't matter if it's women's college or the WNBA. And spoiler alert, for all those people who are missing basketball after the June NBA finals, they're oh, what can I do? WNBA is on in the summer. And it's on in the summer. So I'm glad it was good to kind of, show off a WNBA star.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
So what was that?
what was the deal then? I was gonna bring us into. I wanted to hear your guys' initial thoughts on what is the deal with the dunk contest, and if there is an issue with the dunk contest. Because my thing with the dunk contest, and Dunny, when you said that you didn't have as big an issue with All-Star Weekend, my issue is with the All-Star Game. The dunk contest, I really don't. Now, the biggest issue I have is that, everybody wanted to shit on Jaylen Brown for the dunks or whatever else. At least he's the one All-Star who decided to do that. The issue with the dunk contest is like professional wrestling, where you need if you put 3 jobbers out there and 1 star, no one's going to care. If you had 4 stars out there, all those dunks could have been exactly the same. If it's 4 superstars, people are going to care. So that's my biggest thing, that you have to start at the beginning. The dunks itself, I don't know what new shit people can do, because people just get shit. If you jump over someone, you get shit on. If you do a windmill or a 360 between the legs, like, oh, we've seen that before. It's like, okay, bro, you go out there and do it.
They want someone to do a backflip and dunk. No,
what are you talking about here?
I agree with you. I sent you guys the video after the fact of what was the 2016 dunk competition when Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine. I'm like, this has ruined all dunk contests for us because we were spoiled. I go back and I think the past 10 dunk contests, my favorite dunks of all time, I think 8 of the 10 are from LaVine and Aaron Gordon just throwing haymakers at each other in that dunk contest. It's like, what else could you do? So I think then it becomes either Adam Silver or the NBA's, jobber to implement different, maybe props or strategies or bonuses or something like that. And also too, no disrespect to Jaylen Brown, Dunny, no disrespect at all. But I almost felt like the judges were kind of boosting him up a little bit just to get a well-known name in the finals. I thought Jacob Toppin deserved to face off against Mac McClung in the finals. I thought he had one of the more impressive dunks when he went through the legs. But the reality is, they're trying to make Mac McClung into a NBA slam dunk champion star. I get that. I get what they're doing there. But no one cares.
It's not in the NBA, bro.
No one cared about Jacob Toppin. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. No one cared about Jacob Toppin. They're trying to change this Mac McClung guy into just a dunk champion, even though he doesn't play in the NBA. So I get why they kind of boosted up Jaylen Brown a little bit. I mean, he dunked over Kyson, not sitting down in a chair. Come on now. No one cares. But I think, maybe not necessarily the dunks itself, but make it more of kind of a show. I want to see the props again, right? I want to see the guys get in the costume. I want to see the car come out to the court. I want to see what was the guy JaVale McGee dunked in 2 hoops before.
Yeah,
I want to see different stuff like that. Switch it up, because if you just have a hoop and you give a guy who's insanely athletic, another spoiler alert for everyone watching, there's a lot of insanely athletic guys in the NBA. They're all going to know how to do the same stuff. 360s, windmills, through the legs. We've seen it all. You got to switch it up, make it more of kind of a show entertainment in my mind.
Yeah, and I think if you combined yours and Jake's points on the dunk contest, it kind of fixes itself, right? Because if there is more stars like Jaylen Brown, then Jaylen Brown brought out Jason Tatum for that Kai Cenat dunk. I agree with you, it wasn't that impressive of a dunk, but that probably drew eye. If you're watching with a group of people, it turns heads when Jason Tatum gets on the screen. If you have other stars who have star teammates or friends, they're more likely to be there. They're more likely to be used as props that you're saying. When Blake Griffin brought out the Kia and jumped over it. I was watching one of the old dunk contests, and Serge Ibaka hung a toy from the rim and pretended to get the little kid's toy down. He dunked the ball and then grabbed the toy with his mouth. Gerald Green blew out a cupcake.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Gerald Green did a windmill dunk and then blew out a candle on a cupcake that was sitting on the back of the rim. It's fixable. I think you, like Jake said, I think you need to implement guys that people actually know who the hell they are. And then those guys, then it's up for them to, and I think they will be more competitive. If Jaylen Brown was going up against Zion and other people who he sees on a nightly basis, and no disrespect to Jacob Toppin, Mac McClung, and Jaime Jaquez, who, Jaime Jaquez is probably the biggest name of those guys, and he's a rookie other than Jaylen Brown. And I'm fine with if people don't think Brown's dunks were that impressive. But it's also crazy that people are making him this scapegoat and everyone's just shitting on Jaylen Brown. It's all right, well, LeBron's been telling us he's going to do the dunk contest since 2010, and he hasn't done one. I don't know. I think it's silly. I think you
got to give Brown credit for doing the dunk contest. 100%. He's the first notable name we've had in years.
And people said it was going to be a lose-lose for him, and they were right because exactly what happened. If he won, people were going to say he beat a bunch of scrubs, and he lost like he did. Now people are just clowning him and saying that he sucks. So.
And he played into the meme too with the left hand, with the glove.
That was
he tried to at least do something. Half the people didn't even understand it. It's like, dude,
I know. They were like, oh, he dunked with his left. He's like, yeah,
that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. He's been hated on for not having a left for his entire career.
It's a Michael Jackson glove, and Michael Jackson is from drumroll Indiana. Like it was a nice touch too. Yeah. Like it was a well thought out. Everybody's like, oh, we want creativity. Like that's fucking.
But that's what I want. I want creative stuff like that. I want these guys to come up with props and stuff. Like you said, Donnie. Like blowing out a candle of a cupcake's hilarious. That just makes the dunk so much better.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think my summary of the dunk contest is Jalen's getting unwanted hate per usual. Do I think the dunks can be more creative? Absolutely. Like we didn't need two different people dunking over Shaq in the same dunk contest, guys.
Yeah, what are we
doing? And how is that? And like I like, trust me, this is not biased. I think Mac McClung should have won that. But like, how are you gonna dunk over Shaq in the final round when someone already did it?
I know,
right?
What are we doing?
But that's the thing. It's because they just don't know what else to do to switch it up to make it look cool. And it's like, that's why the NBA has to find a way to just implement all these different things. Like I said, whether it's props, whether it's maybe bonuses if you do something or whatever it is, like it just to make it better. Because like I said, we've seen every type of dunk. Jake's right. Like you can't, we've seen all the dunks. What else are they going to do? You can't front flip and do a dunk. Maybe use a trampoline. You might be able to do that. Yeah. But we've seen all this stuff and we've seen it at its peak. Like I said, 2016, Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, nothing. No dunk contest is compared to that from the dunks we've seen, in my opinion. So it's like, how do you impress the audience again, right? I go back and watch some of the older dunk contest videos. Watch the reactions of just the players or the people at courtside going nuts. Watch the reactions from this year. It's like, yeah, all right, cool. Like that's hot. Like, we've seen this dunk before.
You're so good at this, Steve. Because go ahead, Gunny.
No, go ahead. I kind of have a wrapping up thought. So
that's fine because I was gonna move on and use that as a segue because I think there's a larger problem at hand that it goes with the players reacting and everything else. But go ahead, Don.
Yeah, so I was gonna say it's probably similar, but I was gonna say it about the fans. Like I feel like people were shitting. I feel like people were shitting on the dunk contest before it even started. Like in the first round, it's like it's almost like you didn't even give it a chance.
Fair.
It's like no wonder why you hate it so much, bro. You've been complaining about it before it even started. Yeah. I feel like half of it is just people like just not pleased with anything. Like real quick, things that I liked about the dunk contest. I like Jaylen Brown's tribute to Terrence Clark. I think he should have got a high score from that because it's just a cool thing to do, and I thought it was sick. I thought Jacob Toppin's dunk was awesome, like you said, Steve. Yeah. I think maybe he should have advanced for that. I thought Mac dropping the ball in midair and then re-catching it.
That was an incredible dunk.
It was a sick dunk.
No one cared.
Talking about that.
Nobody cared.
I thought the court was sick. Sick all weekend, but I thought it was cool how they had like the little emotes following them as they were walking around. Like I think there's good things. And it's like if you don't give it a chance, obviously you're gonna think it's shit because you're being negative going into it. And then was it an underwhelming dunk contest? Of course it was. We're having that issue for the last couple of years, but complaining for days on end afterwards, it's like, all right, well, I don't think you would have been pleased if Michael Jordan came out and he competed in it. It sounds like so.
I also think it's a lot of complaining is due to just people wanting to see regular season NBA games again. They're just like, well, we got 4 days. Like, might as well talk about something with it. Everyone's got to talk about the NBA at all times. So it's like, got to find something to complain about.
Yeah.
But I think it was we transitioned to Sunday and talk about the players and their buy-in to everything. It felt like they didn't buy into this weekend at all. That's the reactions you're talking about. Like there's nobody getting hyped up, no one supporting everybody, like no one going, even just fake it a little bit. And then you get to Sunday. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, my whole thing is I think you have to give the players a reason to care too. I don't think it all falls on the players. I really don't. And I get it. Like, but if you look at the players, like the players enjoy hanging out with each other, right? They sometimes they get annoyed with the conferences, but they like messing around on the court and everything. But this is also like they have the other guys who don't make the All-Star game. They have a week off. Like this is a little vacation for them. They're with their families. Maybe they're taking a little trip. The players here, like they're here, because A, the fans want them to be here, right? B, they're the faces of the league. So the NBA should return the favor and kind of do something for the players to be like, hey, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a good representation of this league. And the NBA just doesn't do that. They just don't. They just expect them to put on a show 3 straight nights. And it's like the players, even the guys who are in the All-Star game, they're there Saturday night watching. They're there Friday night watching. The majority of them are there every single night and during the day, every day, whether it's just random shoot-arounds or media questions. It's like, all right. But I get a ton of, and I understand it. I get so many people complaining about the All-Star game. They're not trying. They're not playing defense. One of my favorite memes was I forget who it was, just someone just winded, like looking like they're going to puke over one side of the court. And it's like Jokic and Luka anytime they have to run one time up the court in the All-Star game. Like I understand it. Like I get it. No defense being played. Luka shot a half-court shot people got pissed off about when there was 40 seconds to go. Like, guys are taking half-court shots. Damian Lillard was hitting every half-court shot. But I understand it. You drive to the rim. Everyone just kind of clears parting of the Red Sea so you can dunk it. I understand it. But also, too, you got to understand that from the player's perspective, like, they are not here to have a wear and tear war of a game against the best of the best, unless there are stakes and unless there's an incentive. And I would not, and I put myself in their shoes, right? I'm an NBA superstar. I don't have a week vacation where everyone else on my team going to see their families, going on little trips. I'm here in Indiana. Putting on saving face for the NBA. I understand where they're like, all right, I don't really want to give 110% for the All-Star game. I understand where they're like, I just kind of want to mess around, have fun with the other NBA stars who are here. I understand that. And I put myself in their shoes. I'm not going 100% in the All-Star game. I'm just not. I'm not risking an injury. I'm not risking, maybe injuring someone else and then just having that entire, not just the fan base, but the team, the opponent team being like, this guy's an asshole. What is this guy doing? Dirty player. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be that one guy who stands out from the rest. So my whole thing is either you change it up completely, and I think there's a couple solutions, which I'll propose to you guys later to see what you guys think, or you give them an incentive, whether that's a money or like some type of money reward for the winning team, or home court advantage in the finals, which I don't think is fair. I don't like that they do that, but something, because we saw the NBA execute this perfectly with the in-season tournament. We saw it already with something we didn't think the players were going to care about and didn't look like they cared about. And then once that tournament started to happen, right? Once it was like, you got to win or you're not it, these teams cared.
I think they maybe should have tried to fix the All-Star game after everything, hindsight, obviously. I think they maybe should have tried to fix this weekend before they implemented the in-season tournament, because that is something you could have done. It could have been incentive. The whole All-Star weekend could have been incentive-based like the in-season tournament was. Maybe you get some more fire out of the players, some more competitiveness, and then you can implement the in-season tournament a year later and see if it works then. I'm with you. I tend to like the home court thing. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it is necessarily fair, but I'll tell you what, it'll make for a more competitive game.
100%.
Think about all the guys that were out there this year that have playoff stakes or aspirations to make the finals. Like, it would help, I think. So I'm not necessarily opposed to that idea.
I got one that I'll propose to you, which I think is crazy, that I don't think they'd ever do. But what does everyone want to do when they talk basketball? They want to debate player versus player. They want to say who's better than who. 1v1 tournament winner gets like $1 million. Not only that, not only a 1v1 tournament, right, to win $1 million, but you're like, oh, LeBron James is the first 1v1 champion. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine, like, and you'd still have to get the players to check in or want to play for that. But I think they would. You play half court. We're not playing full court here. You play half court. You could do maybe a 3-on-3 thing too. Like we would play if the three of us went to a random court, right, to play pickup street ball or something. You know how 3-on-3 where you have 3 or 4 teams. You just kind of rotate on and off. Yep. You could do that too. These guys don't want to play full court, and I get it. I completely understand it. Watch the replay of the All-Star game. No one's running up and down the court. The only one who was running was the one who had the ball, wanted to dunk, and everyone else walked away. So I'm saying I think you got to make it half court so these players don't have to run. They don't want this to be a demanding physical exercise. But 1v1 half court, you're telling me everyone wouldn't tune into that? 1v1, I wouldn't even care. If it was like a guard, like a 6'1" Shai Gilgeous-Alexander against a Jokic, 6'11", but they get to play 1v1? I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want to see that?
I would like that. I think that's not a bad idea.
I like that idea. I think that's a better chance at them being competitive.
Me too.
I understand what you're saying, both of you, with where's the incentive for the players and everything else. But the incentive is that you're getting paid $200 million for 5 years, and you're one of the best players in the NBA. That's like, this is part of your job, is show up and put on a show. And I'm not saying they have to go put 100% in, but this was like 30%. Like this was like
maybe less,
20%, maybe less even. Like and then you have Anthony Davis coming out and being like, the best part was the dunks from the Bulls and Pacers trampoline people and all this other stuff. And guys like mentioning not wanting to get hurt after the game and everything else. Like no one wants to get hurt, of course. That's the thing. But these people are paying like for like hundreds of dollars to come to Indiana or be from Indiana. Like these cities wait for the All-Star game to come there. And like you said, Indianapolis, Indiana, not the most exciting place to go spend your weekend. I get it. It's not New Orleans. It's not LA. It's not New York. It's not Miami. Like there are more exciting places that there would be better All-Star parties. There would be more fun on the weekend. Like, I don't know what those guys were doing all weekend. I don't know what they were. I'm sure there wasn't like a bouncing nightlife and everything else. So it wasn't just the same vibes and everything else. And the NBA does need to do something about it. They need to incentivize the players and give them some reason other than like just pulling in. What was it that they said? Iguodala and Larry Bird and Julius Erving got sent in. Like, yeah, those guys are like, they're gonna respect those guys and hear what they say, but it's not gonna change how they go play on the court once the ball gets thrown up and everything else, especially once they see the energy from everybody else. And it's just a terrible product. Like we're sitting here talking about this game and why we need to fix it when it's supposed to be the showcase of like the best players and their talent and everything else. Now all we're talking about is how they don't want to go on the floor in a league where everybody complains about them being soft and not wanting to play as it is. Like that's the biggest thing, is this is already a league that has an issue with load management and stars not playing in big games and that kind of thing. And then when you have your biggest showcase, now it's the Pro Bowl. Like now that's what it is. Like it used to that. At least you had some excitement. Now it's the Pro Bowl. No one gives a shit about the Pro Bowl. Just put the All-Star game in June or something, and the finals players don't play. You put it in between a couple nights. Like that would be better than having it on this whole weekend where we have to go without these games and everything else. And then at least everybody else could be on vacation and everything else. So I think that is a good point. There's probably like they're seeing all their teammates out and getting this time off, and you do have a lot of responsibilities during All-Star weekend. That's the price of being a star, but also you do need to incentivize these guys to do something. But the effort was just a bad I turned it off in the second quarter, bro. Like I was just like, I'm not sitting here wasting my 2.5 hours watching this whole thing. There's no way.
I will say there is a little bit of part of me that does enjoy just watching when a guy's like made a few in a row, just throwing up half quarters and trying to hit them.
Oh yeah,
and there is a part of me.
I don't have a problem with Luka throwing up the other shot. Like you should have some moments in the game.
Yeah,
ridiculous. Like
I have no issue about Damian Lillard pulling up like just egregiously long shoot and hitting them. I don't have a problem with Karl Anthony Towns trying to show off his dunking skills. Like I don't have an issue with that, right? So it's weird because the fans want to see good basketball. They want to get the wow effect, right? We're watching the stars. But in order to do that, these guys can't play just a physical, tough game like they're playing Game 7 of the NBA Finals, right?
Oh,
so
no.
there has to be a middle ground here because we want to see them play a competitive game, but we also want to the All-Star game is to show off your skills. It's to show off your talent. So in my mind, it's like there is a problem with the All-Star game too, but you don't want it to go too far in the other direction where it's like these guys are just playing just tough basketball. And it's like, yeah, but I kind of want to see Damian Lillard pull up a three from the next area code because he's made 3 in a row, right? Yeah. I kind of want to see LeBron James throw it off the backboard and dunk to himself. I mean, Luka's failed attempt was hilarious, where he tried to throw it off the backboard and dunk one-handed and failed. Then Jokic at the end failed trying to do like a 2-hand reverse. Like some of that stuff's funny. Like some of the stuff Giannis does is hilarious, but it's like, I want to see these guys show off their personality and skill. I necessarily don't need a competitive game, but I need something where it's not just like, all right, we're jogging down the court. Whoever has the ball's running to the rim or they're tossing up a 3, right? I want to see these guys show off their skills, but I also I don't need to see a competitive game. I just want to see a game with the best players in the world kind of show off what they can do. And that's why I think maybe a 3-on-3, maybe a 1-on-1. I think going half court, regardless what you do, would make this so much more enjoyable for the players. They are walking down the court. Everyone complains, well, they're not playing defense. Yeah, because 4 of them are under the other basket. Of course it's an open lane. Like they're not going to run back in the All-Star game. So why are we having them play full court? What's the point of that? I'm telling you right now, if you just made it half court 3-on-3, they got to pick their teams like gym class captains, you'd get a much more competitive game regardless of having an incentive. Regardless, because they don't have to go up and down a full court. They're just balling at that point. They're just hooping. Just let them hoop. That's all. The most talented players in the world. Let them hoop. That's it.
I don't know. I think there's a lot wrong with it at this point. To piggyback, my last thought here, something that Jake said about the guys just. I think it really comes down to the guys just wanting it more. Like I'm with you, Steve. I don't think they should have to play like a playoff game. But what we saw the other night was crazy. I mean, there should be no praise for scoring over 200 points. It's like, yeah, no shit. You guys are the best players in the world.
You can make open shots.
Yeah, and it's like when no one's guarding you and you're just allowed to dribble up and down. It's like at that point, it's just a time thing. It's like how many points can you score in this amount of time? And I'll say the thing that should keep them motivated, and it doesn't need to be incentives. It's like, how about the guys 20 years ago that made 1/8 of the money that you guys are making, who put on much better shows. Right. Even in the early 2000s, late 90s, it's like the All-Star game was so much better. It was so much more competitive. East versus West meant something. Like at the end of the day, yes, I do. Adam Silver probably needs to create some sort of incentive. I think there's things that the league can do, but at the end of the day, I do think the players just need to care more. And if you want to take a poll of who's going to care more and play harder, maybe those guys should get a shot and not necessarily the people who get voted by the fans, because at the end of the day, people want to see, they want to see the best of the best, but they want to see a competitive game, man. And I don't know. It's not like I'm not anti-player at all in this. I just think that it's clear when you're watching the game. It's like you just need someone to care out there, and no one cared.
I love him, but Luka should never play a minute in the All-Star game.
Yeah,
he should just sit on the bench. He's done this for like 5-6 straight years now. Jokic, same thing. Jokic,
Anthony Edwards, honestly, too, bro.
Anthony Edwards saying he was going to play left-handed. It's like, bro, what are we doing? Like,
yeah, I saw people quote tweeting that where like, Chris Finch, close your eyes, bro.
It's like if they don't want to play, but the problem is the fans want to see them, right? Some fans, like you said, they go to Indiana. There's fans that's like, oh my gosh, I get to go to the All-Star game to see the 25 best players in the NBA going at it. It's like, well, you're not really going to see that, and you don't want to punish them and be like, oh, yeah, you don't have to play. You know what I mean? It's like, I know this is completely different because he was dealing with an injury, but even last year, right, Giannis starts, scores a basket, he's out, he's coaching. Like, I get it, right? Because of an injury, you didn't want to risk anything. Like, he still did that. But it's like these fans want to see these guys play. So do it in a way where you can enjoy watching them play, but you also have to think of the players a little bit too. I really do, because if you don't get the players checked in, you're never going to get a good product. It's just simple fact. And as a Luka fanboy, he's never been checked in one All-Star game. He has never cared. Jokic never cared.
No.
LeBron didn't even play in the second half.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that's
LeBron's hilarious because he's not even going to play tomorrow night. He's like, yeah, I'll play this first half of this All-Star game, but I'm going to.
And LeBron's LeBron. LeBron can do whatever he wants at this point. It doesn't matter. But I'm just saying, it's like.
But no, it's a great point. Like Luka and Jokic and these guys not coming out and playing hard. Like these are the future of the league, and that's what we're gonna. That's the standard we're getting set here. Like it's
I will give you know what, I'll give Donnie a little bit of credit. But past couple of years, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they want to play. They want to play. They do. They play. No,
I was so happy JB had the game he did, and obviously, how impressive was it? Really, not really at all, because we know that they weren't playing defense. But to get clowns like that all Saturday night, and then for him to have probably the most complete game in the All-Star game, 36 points, 8 rebounds, I think 4 assists and a steal. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I liked it. It was good. I do think the Jays the last 3 years have showed up for sure.
They have.
Tatum won the MVP last year. He had and last year I thought it was a little bit more competitive.
I
Still
think
kind of the same issue, but
Halliburton should have got it this year.
Yeah.
How do you not give it to Halliburton in Indiana after the game he played?
And it was cool when Halliburton was doing it, because at the beginning of the game, it hadn't really gone to shit yet. Yes, he was chucking shots, but when he was 5 for 5, I was going nuts. Like that.
Dame really came out with he's like, oh, you guys thought I shouldn't be a starter? Like, okay.
Yeah.
Win the 3-point contest, All-Star game MVP. And then he loved it when the fans were booing him at the end, which I get. Like, obviously, you want help.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, he took it completely fine. Like, I thought it was great. But Halliburton should have got MVP. I don't know how you don't give him MVP for that. Whatever.
It's also just going to be hard in the league nowadays. It's going to be hard because everybody just shoots threes, and it's just so easy to just be like, well, we could just shoot the whole game. Like, we don't have to back when you were talking about in the 90s and early 2000s, like guys weren't shooting like that. Like they had to go. You couldn't look like a fool just out there chucking up shots you weren't taking. Now all these guys are taking these shots too. So it's the way the game has changed too, is like made the All-Star game much worse because it's so much easier. Like we've all played in pickup games where everybody just decides we're not going to play. We're just going to take all these outside shots. Yeah. And it's terrible. And that's what that turned into. So Adam Silver was hilarious, being like, oh, the East, you scored the most points, like not even congratulating them. Didn't say they won. It was
so Jake,
you could tell he was pissed.
Are you blaming Steph Curry for ruining the All-Star game then? Is this breaking news that Jake from Happy Hour Hoops is blaming Steph Curry for ruining the All-Star game?
No, I'd blame LeBron more than I'd blame Steph Curry, because I think that this is the LeBron generation. The whole everything about this is a LeBron generation type thing, and like the guys worrying about being injured and worrying about their money and everything else. It's all stemmed from the business of LeBron. Like, let's be real. Like it's a lot of it comes from his like core tenets of being an NBA superstar. Not that he hasn't gone hard in All-Star games in the past, but like you said, he sat out the second half. He coached last year pretty much the same thing as Giannis. Like it was Giannis versus LeBron being captain / coaches most of the time. Like it's not a good standard to set for young guys. And then you see Anthony Edwards not giving a shit. Like that's the thing, is like if LeBron was out there for 40 minutes in this, I think he'd never be out there for 40 minutes, but you know what I mean? Like if he's out there just going ham the whole time, like everybody else is going to pick up on that. So it is what it is. I don't know what they do to fix this game. I like the 3-on-3. I like the 1-on-1 ideas. I missed the target score, even though it really wouldn't have mattered in this game, because I think that made it really way more competitive. Missed the charity element. I really missed the quarter by quarter charity element that they did, because it made the quarter, like end of quarters, competitive. So like that's the thing. They talked to Adam Silver about this before the game at his press conference, and they're like, "Why did you switch to East-West?" He's like, "Because what we were doing wasn't working." I'm like, well, you guys switched from the East-West because that wasn't working, though.
Yeah, I know.
And
so you got to find something else.
Yeah, like they just put it back to the thing that wasn't working before. It's like, what do you mean, bro? Like this wasn't working. That's why you changed it. Did you think it was just magically gonna like resurrect itself? Like, no, that's not how this works.
Honestly, he had me going for a little bit. I thought it when he said it was coming back, I was like, "Oh, it's fixed."
I did too. Don't get me wrong. And I think he thought he wanted a nostalgia play. Nostalgia's in. Everybody wants that nostalgia. The jerseys were sick. Like honestly, I think that's the reason they did East West is because they could sell those All-Star jerseys, and they're much prettier than just having team versus team jerseys.
Agreed.
But like that's not the fix. I really they got to find ways. I like I think that the quarters, having the quarters matter. Made every quarter competitive, at least in the last couple minutes. You don't need a full quarter of competitive basketball.
Agreed.
But you need 3 minutes. And maybe they should do 10-minute quarters. Maybe you don't need to do a full-length NBA game. Shorten the time so the guys know it's not as big of a commitment. Even do 8-minute quarters. Fuck it. Like we don't need I know it's a TV show. Throw some more commercials in. Throw some dunks in between. Show us some of the, in-game entertainment that goes on. Like people, like everybody's watching these games, is watching League Pass and watching these in-game entertainment stuff. Like, what if they just show Red Panda on TV on TNT? Who's not signing up for that? Like, I want to see Red Panda on TNT. Like, give me that. Show me the Bulls trampoline dunkers that were amazing.
Play knockout. Play knockout for a little bit.
Yeah.
have
exactly. Something like that. Like, there's ways that you could make it more entertaining in game and make the load lessen on the players, make them play harder for a shorter amount of time, and it still be like a show. They really need to add some everything needs more wrestling, bro. They just need to add some wrestling in. Have like an all-star come in, Reggie Miller take his fucking suit off and come out there for the East in the third quarter and start.
Have Jose Alvarado run out of the tunnel and steal the ball as they're dribbling and walking it up half court. I don't know.
Make it a show, something like that. I don't know. Man. It's just there's got the answer shouldn't have been let's just go back exactly the way it is. But I swear that my reason that they did it is that there's got to be the jerseys. Like Fanatics is we want to sell these East-West jerseys. Let's do it.
Probably right.
It needs work. That's for damn sure. The All-Star game. I'll
probably buy a damn jersey at some point in the next couple years. So they're not wrong. That's a good move.
All in all, I didn't hate the weekend as much as everyone else did. I think a lot of it's just people just hating just to hate. Like Steve said, probably just missing their regular season games. We get all that back tomorrow.
Thankfully.
Yeah,
we got to stop talking about something besides the All-Star game. Everyone's been talking about the All-Star game for a week.
I know it's exhausting, man. We'll see what Adam Silver has in store for next year. Hopefully, the players at least hear some of this, and maybe they're sick of hearing about it too, and they'll do a little something themselves. But we'll close out the show talking about the Doc Rivers drama. This is also the other thing that everyone can't stop talking about. We'll save our spirited MVP debate for next week. We can hopefully it will get even juicier and even more controversial.
I'll be talking for too long if we do it today. Way too long.
So we'll do Doc Rivers drama here. For those who didn't see, Doc Rivers first went on a podcast and basically threw everyone under the bus that he could. Somehow brought up Kawhi Leonard on the Clippers and kind of threw him under the bus.
He pulled LeBron, bro.
Yeah, he was trying to give himself credit for James Harden leaving Philly. He blamed the players on the Bucks after they lost that embarrassing game to the Grizzlies right before the All-Star break. He said, I think half our guys were already in Cabo. He said he didn't know why the Milwaukee Bucks called him after Adrian Griffin got fired. It's like, yes, you do, bro. You've been discussing shit with them since this fall. It's like, exactly why they called you.
Yeah.
So he basically, kind of did some corny shit, made a fool of himself a bit. And then JJ Redick called him out. JJ says it how it is usually. He did that on ESPN. Basically said that Doc needs to be more accountable, stop blaming players. Patrick Beverley, new player on the Milwaukee Bucks, says Doc Rivers saves your career, JJ. No one else wanted you, things of that nature. JJ Redick claps back, basically tells Pat to get the fuck out of here. He had a 4-year offer with a player option. He could have gone elsewhere if he wanted to. Also, not to mention, JJ had some great years on Philly after he left the Clippers. He was solid in Orlando. I don't think Doc saved his career by any means, but this big beef. And so now that's what we're left with. We're left with, the Bucks still have that shit record since Doc took over. Nothing's changed
3-7.
He has thrown his players under the bus a couple times since he's joined. It's not exactly what you want to see or hear if you're a Bucks fan or player. Players are still coming to his defense, like Pat Bev. And then, JJ just kind of doing his job, catching strays, but sticking up for himself. I think this is a funny, just like run-of-the-mill modern day NBA interaction now. A little Twitter involved, a little ESPN clip involved, and then Doc Rivers spewing all his bullshit on a podcast. It's like that's the NBA in 2020.
It really is. And we talked about this before the show too, right? We both really value JJ Redick and Pat Beverly's opinions. Two brilliant basketball minds, two guys who know the game inside and out. So like it's awesome to kind of see them going back and forth at each other. But I told you this, and this is how I feel about it. Like, I don't think we all agreed. We didn't think Doc Rivers was the right move for this Milwaukee Bucks team. And so far, very small sample size, but it's shown it. Their defense has been terrible, 3-7 in the last 10. And, it's tough to switch your coach when you're second in the East. Now they're slipping down the standings. It's not aging well. But Pat Bev is a team guy, right? Pat Bev is a loyal team guy. He is going to have the back of his teammates, of his coaches, or whoever's on his side at the time. So no surprise there that Pat Bev, I think, took Doc Rivers back there and didn't allow JJ to, say what he did about Doc Rivers, because like I said, I don't think it's shocking. I just think that's Pat Bev's personality, right? He's not going to hold back. He's a team guy. He's going to support Doc regardless of what the Bucks' success is, regardless of how they're doing right now, regardless of what Doc Rivers' track record has been. Doc Rivers is Pat Beverly's head coach right now. He's going to defend him. It's just plain and simple.
Great point.
Yeah, and then of course Austin Rivers got involved on ESPN too a couple of days later, and it was like, he was basically like, I don't get how people can keep saying that my dad doesn't get held accountable and he's not ever the one to blame. He always puts on his players. And then Austin Rivers brought up about how he's been fired multiple times and let go. And he was like, he seems to always have to take the responsibility, but you guys are saying that he doesn't. Which, I think there's a little bit of truth to that. It's also just like, I'm sure Doc didn't even want Austin Rivers to come to his defense.
Didn't Doc just leave Philly though? Like Doc didn't get fired from Philly. Doc was like, I'm resigning and going to go to ESPN. Like that's very much with Austin.
I think it was probably going to happen if he didn't do that, but
agreed.
Technically, he left on his own. I mean, it's weird. I mean, it's also weird that like a guy like this has gotten as many chances as he has. Like he has, I love Doc. I'm always going to, because he brought the Celtics a championship in my lifetime. But the track record hasn't been there. I think he's honestly just knows the game so well. I think he's a likable dude outside of this shit that he did this week and the comments he's been making. I think he got himself
fed up.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think he got himself in quite the bind, but I don't think gets as many opportunities or, has players like Pat Bev who just started being his coach. Like, I don't think people are coming to his defense like this if he's not just a good dude. I think that might be it. I think he's a good basketball mind. I think people like him once he's in the building. And I think sometimes he puts his foot in his mouth and can't help himself.
Yeah. It's the thing is though, like you can't ignore the collapses that have happened under Doc Rivers. Like there's been some horrible playoff collapses from from different organizations. That's the thing. It's the Clippers. It was with the Sixers as well. Mm-hmm. So there's reason that these players like feel so strongly about it. Like JJ had to witness that. JJ was on that team thinking that they're making the NBA finals and they have one of the worst collapses. Only those guys in the locker room know how that all went down and why that went down. And he's the guy that's involved in both of them too. And across the board. And yeah, I think Doc's best reputation is that he's been great with stars and he's great with players and he's great at player management and everything else. And so, yeah, you got guys that are going to obviously go to bat for him. But when you're a great players coach, that means that you're probably paying attention to one guy more than another guy too. And that's going to make some guys feel some type of way anyways. And JJ, as we said, like he just calls it how he sees it. Like JJ's never going to parse any words. Now, I love JJ Redick as a basketball analyst. I think he's one of the best. My criticism of JJ is that he tries to act like he's above hot take culture and then participates in hot take culture
and
knows when things are slow and wants to bring something up, and he says it smartly, and he's very intellectual. He can like make it sound like it's like not just some random like crazy
just
take,
a normal take, even though it's
exactly, like he prefaces it that way, but he knows what he's doing with that. Like he was generating content for ESPN for days for us to sit here on this podcast and talk about. So that's what JJ, like that's the thing that pisses me off about JJ sometimes. It is, it's really smart, but he tries to act like he's above it, and he's not above it all the time. Like he is a lot of times, and I think he brings better discourse to basketball than we had, and he's better. Like basketball discourse is better with him with a podcast and with him on ESPN and everything else, but he's not above all of the shit that we complain about either. And so that's the thing where it's like, that's where these guys are like, listen, JJ, like we hear you, but come on, bro. Like, what are you doing here? Like you're not above any of this hot take shit that happens on your network as it does. That's my biggest complaint with JJ. Like, is that
that's fair.
He just tries to act like he's above it sometimes, and he's not above it. But I don't want him to embrace it, because that would change who he is. But he also can't act, and maybe that's just going to be the part of the shtick as it is. He did, it is what it is. He also is complaining about basketball fans not wanting to be smart enough. It's like, bro, no kid on YouTube is going to watch your 9-minute breakdown video that you're talking about. Like, I'm sorry, that's just not. No one's gonna go spend. No one's gonna spend that time. Like, it's just not gonna happen. Like, that's not
young
how the
NBA
works.
fans don't care about true.
They're on TikTok.
No, they care about dunking highlights.
Yeah,
yes.
Who posterized too? That's
it.
But yeah, and JJ, I think he was right on, but like, let's just stay. Like, I don't think he needed to bring up the past shit. Like, I think he's right on that Doc Rivers needs to be held accountable, but I think he needs to be held accountable what we've seen over the last month, and then his comments about what's happened over the last month. Like, to me, this shit, not the coaching, but like him complaining about, I forget what were the two destinations, Dallas and Utah, I think. He was complaining about how they had to go to Dallas and Utah, and taking over in the middle of the season is hard. It's like, bro, you said yes. No one made you take this job. No, the Bucks didn't force you into taking this head coaching job. Adrian Griffin got let go. They asked you, and then you said yes. So like, no one's saying it's not difficult to take over a team, but you also are taking over a team who had the second best record in the Eastern Conference. They might have had the second best record in the NBA at the time. Giannis is on your team. That should be enough alone, not to mention Damian Lillard. And then you're complaining about having to take – it's like everyone takes road trips, bro. What are you talking about? And then to say that, half our guys are in Cabo. You guys lost to a team with a starting point guard who was on a 10-day contract. It's like that at some point that comes down to you, man. You should have had Thanasis out there locking him up.
How do you lose? How do you lose to the Grizzlies before
he throws the team under the bus? So, like, I think he should be held responsible, but he should be held responsible for the shit that's happening right now. I think all the past shit is the past shit. Like, he blew 3-1 leads. He dropped the ball with all these star players. That stuff happened. You're right, but I think the fairest criticism is to kind of, stick it to him for what's been happening right now with the Milwaukee Bucks, and It's kind of embarrassing at the very least. And I think Bucks players, because, the whole rumor was Giannis and Dame wanted Griffin out.
Yep.
They got what they wished for. And, I think they should have to deal with the consequences too. And they certainly are. Obviously it's, still plenty of season left. They're still in third. I don't mean to be talking about them like they're at the bottom of the East, but it doesn't look great right now.
They lost to the Blazers, the Grizzlies, and the Jazz.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
As the Milwaukee Bucks. You can't do that.
It's also funny that JJ is talking shit about him after he took his job at ESPN too. It's like kicking him on the way out. Not that I mean, you got a head coaching job, whatever, but it is what it is, man. Yeah. It's not like you're saying, like you guys are saying, prove it on the court, buddy. Like you're 3-7 and you're slipping in the standings. The Knicks are right on your tail. The Cavs already passed you. Like they got work to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see with Doc Rivers and the Bucks. Like we said, MVP spirited debate about the MVP will be coming next week. Giannis is one of those guys who's up there for now. I mean, if the Bucks keep this up, he could start falling.
You know who the Bucks play first game after the break?
Who's that?
In Minnesota, Friday night, ESPN.
Love that.
That's a game.
That's a game. I'm sure Doc's already complaining about the airfare. But no, yeah, it's gonna be a great game. We'll see if Giannis slips or moves up that MVP ladder by the next time we're talking about this.
The MVP ladder is the most rigged thing, and I'm not gonna get it.
Don't get Steve going yet.
Don't get Steve started. We'll get
Jokic.
Wait it out.
Jokic had 6-4-4. His odds are now minus 8,000. Oh yeah, that makes sense. I can't do it.
So that's a preview. We're gonna have all the emotions next week when we talk about the MVP. And the other thing that we'll have next week is the winner of the Game Time gift card, courtesy of WinStreakz. Happy Hour Hoops is brought to you by WinStreakz. Use our referral code HHH when you sign up. You're going to need that referral code for a chance to win the Game Time gift card. Refer your friends and win an additional 50% of what they win. Never, ever need to deposit any money. It's always 100% free. 100 players win cash prizes every week up to $2,000. NFL, NHL, college basketball, MLB is right around the corner. Pick any games of the major sports, accumulate those points, and then win your cash prizes, guys. Once again, WinStreakz. Go download the app and use our referral code HHH. And that's going to do it. A nice lengthy episode. I got to say
one more thing.
One more thing from Steve.
One more thing leading into next week. Nikola Jokic. Denver Nuggets lost 3 straight games before his MVP odds were plus 125. He had a very bad game. Had 2 of the 3 games were bad games. He's now minus 150. He lost 3 straight. Shea won 2 in a row. I'm not even going to just bring up Luka, who's longest win streak in the NBA right now. I'm not even going to bring up what he's doing. Shea won 2 in a row. Averaged like 36 and like 6 or something. Luka did his thing. No. Jokic lost 3 straight with the Nuggets, right? Had a really bad game, not so great game, and a solid game. Went from plus 125 to minus 150. So
it makes no sense, man. I don't know what they're doing. My take as of now, unless there's substantial change, has to do a lot with what you just said. And SGA is going to be a big talking point of mine next week. I'll just tease it with that.
None of this makes sense. None of it makes sense. I can't get into it. I just can't get into it.
We will.
So that should be enough of a tease for you guys to tune in next week. We're going to have a very spirited MVP debate. We're going to talk about whatever's relevant next week. Hopefully not Doc Rivers. And hopefully you guys liked our takes on the All-Star game. Thank you to WinStreakz. Thank you to Trainwreck Sports as always. This has been another episode of Happy Hour Hoops. Later, guys.